The San Jose Sharks lose in overtime in what can only be described as an ill-advised one-man rush through the slot, only to have it stripped and to have the Ducks go the other way. The Sharks unfortunately fall in overtime 3-2 to the Anaheim Ducks. We'll talk about all that and more after this. But first, if you want to be a part of the show and join the Chomversation, chat with us and fellow Sharks fans on the page or the app, of course, on the YouTube chat, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, the Threads, the Reddit, Discord, TikTok, all of that and more at tealtownusa.com. And if you feel so inclined, there's always that donation option over at the Venmo at tealtownusa. Last go around for myself, it was me needing the new internet. So, fuck guy, I guess, has the last laugh in the end? Question mark. I'm happy to be joined by Jules. And Jules, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
You know,
You got your hopes up there.
I did. I'm not gonna lie. You know, Sharks. We were talking about, kind of just evolved into a mucky kind of 2-1 game. And I'm like, well, maybe this team, has learned that it needs to play some better, third period defense. But I don't think that they got that message. So
they didn't. They said we're gonna make it worse, and do giveaways instead.
Oh, yeah. And not just like, little kind of giveaways, it's like, just let a little point shot there between friends. What's not a big deal.
No, like the big
ones. This was like, oh no, you're going to give it away, right on the far blue line and, allow a 2-on-1 and
with one of the all-stars, Frank Vatrano.
Yeah, like
no shade. He actually, he's good, but like, yeah.
Again, like what? I don't know why I do this to myself.
Me
I
neither.
Really don't.
I'm just waiting for the draft. Sharks were the better team, right?
No. I mean, I think both teams. It was uninspired hockey. I'll say that. But I guess we'll start from the beginning, right? So Lundstrom would get the scoring off pretty quickly, actually. 2 minutes and 12 seconds into the first period, and I'm going up 1-0. And like I said, Lundstrom getting a second on the year, but McTavish and Silverberg getting the assists. And the Sharks, it would take them about, I'd say, 5 minutes to get back into this game, and you'd have Duclair on the power play getting the kind of garbage rebound goal, coming in from a real nice point shot from Mukhamadullin.
And Mukhamadullin.
Yeah, I know, right?
Get the puck to the net, good things happen. I think I was listening on the audio network when this goal went in, but whoever was on it today was complaining that Addison wasn't shooting the puck on the power play. And then the minute Mukhamadullin comes in, he just shoots it, and the Sharks get a goal. Nothing against Addison. I think he's fine. But it's nice to see Sharks D-men getting it to the net instead of play the game of we're going to pass up every fucking shot known to man.
I don't think I could have put it more eloquently, Jules. I think you're exactly echoing my sentiments. But again, it's nice. It's just nice to see a big guy who wants to contribute a little bit more on the offensive side. We don't normally see a lot of that. And, you were talking about you just marveling at stature. I mean, this is a real big guy. And
6'6", I think he is, or 6'5". He's somewhere around that. He might be shorter than 6'6". That's just kind of how he seems on the TV to me. But he just skates smoothly, pretty smooth defensively.
I think that there's still even like room for him to grow into his frame too. So
yeah, like once he grows into his frame, he's gonna be a problem, and not for the Sharks, for other teams.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Mikey J coming in with another zinger. Vlassic is on fire. Yeah, I mean
Vlassic for the Norris. You heard it here, folks.
Well, we'll get into that, I guess, going into the second period. But the shots on goal, 13-8 in favor of the Sharks. But I mean, it really just didn't feel like that for the Sharks. I mean, honestly, we talked about it like. I would say 98% of their shots tonight were like of the low quality, low danger variety. So, every once in a great while they had like a real nice sustained set of pressure, but it just fizzled out and honestly, again, disjointed. And I think it's just the same things we've been echoing throughout the season where, it seems like one line sometimes can pick up one another. Maybe one or two lines will be firing on one night, but it's never consistently. You never get a four-line effort from this team. And I think we also have to talk about a couple of injuries happening, Barabanov going out, and then Ohotyuk also getting a couple of shifts off. And, I mean, well, I guess we'll talk about it because in the second period, because that's when it happened. But yeah, again, shot volume great, but I'd love to see a little bit more danger shots in that first.
I will say this team, like a few other teams in the NHL, they love just to circle the perimeter because teams can very easily contain the Sharks to the perimeter and not really let them get into any high danger areas. And that's literally just because like once you shut down Hurdle and like Couture, you don't have anyone else really to worry about.
Yeah, and I mean, just right on cue. And thanks AJ and Eric for both of you guys manning the pressy and also helping us with the gifts. They outnumbered us on the tying goal. Couture's saying this, and Couture is not wrong. I mean, you just see the Sharks consistently outmuscled off pucks, and they just don't. This group doesn't have a really good idea of when to collapse and
No,
when to go back and kind of start sniffing out on the far side for a long stretch pass. I think this team, you can definitely sense its inexperience because there are times where they're collapsing and I'm going, why are you guys collapsing in this situation? And there'll be times like, okay, come on, help your guy out. Like this is the time to, kind of pull together and again, kind of surround the puck carrier. And they just really don't have a good sense of when to do that and when, and when not to. Couture a little bit more. I thought we were the better team the entire game, but they took over in the third. No excuses on a back-to-back. Glad we battled and got a point. So, what else?
I would not say they were the better team for most of the game, but okay.
I would say like they were better for the middle.
They were better for the middle frame, but like to start off in like the first like 10-ish, like they were good for a solid 30 minutes, and then the rest of the like 35 minutes of the game they just took it off.
Yeah. So getting into that second period, I mean, we have to talk about the resurgence of Marc Edward Vlassic in his third goal in 3 games. And I mean, you said it first, Jules. Do we have a sneaky stealth Norris contender on our hands?
Absolutely. I think having Erik Karlsson win it last year and Pickles winning it this year, I think it's great. I'm joking. No, absolutely. I mean, it's nice to see Vlasic have a resurgence. Like, don't forget, at the beginning of this year, this dude was like scratched for like how many games?
Exactly.
Like a solid like 10, 20 going into it. So it's nice to see him have a resurgence. Him and Eklund have just kind of been connecting. I think Eklund got another assist tonight.
Yeah, so Vlasic, his 5th of the season, and so he adds, to his collection already, and Kyle Burrows and Eklund getting the assists there. So Eki's already got 16 assists, which is really nice to see. And again, just a kid that you're just seeing the right steps in the development and the growth, and the fact that he can score points up here. I think it shows that they did a good job with taking their time with him, and now he, I think he's kind of. If he has a bad stretch, yeah, they'll sit him or send him to the AHL. But I don't think he's in any immediate threat of that happening right now.
Even if he had a rough stretch there for it was like 6 or 7 games, and the only thing I think Quinn did was move him to the third line with Sturm, which I honestly didn't mind. I thought Sturm's forechecking and the way Sturm plays was going to be just fine for X. Of course, you'd like to see him in the top 6, but you know what I mean? So I wasn't too upset about that. I don't think he's in any real danger of getting sent down or anything. And even if he does have a rough stretch, he's a 21-year-old in the NHL. Like, he's going to have bumps and bruises
Yeah.
going on. And he also just now started playing center.
Yeah, and right on cue. I mean, thought he looked good at center. Couture and Eklund's playing in the middle of the rink, and again, we talked up a little bit pre-show that Eki kind of reminds me a little bit of a young Logan, where Logan was having issues really protecting the puck down low. He was kind of seen as this one-dimensional threat kind of off of the rush or maybe in kind of the high slot area, but not being a guy who would be willing to really, I mean, he would stick his nose in it, don't get me wrong, and he's always been a puck hound that way. But there was just a level of refinement in his game that he didn't have early on in his career, like any young player. And he had to grow into his frame, had to learn how to protect the puck, had to learn how to take faceoffs. And I think we're seeing very similarly, Eki taking the same type of growth pattern that Couture has, and Couture. I mean, you get the benefit of playing, in the OHL, and you get to play for the 67s, and it's a very consistent schedule, and you get a lot of games played under your belt going that route. So development wise, it's a pretty good route for a person to get to their hockey dreams, but. So that being said, I think Eklund was just going to take a little bit of extra time just to kind of get there. And
I will say this, with the Doug Wilson Jr. regime, their whole plan was to have Eklund play center.
Yeah.
So, like, their entire plan, I was not sure if Greer was going to follow that up or not, because Doug Wilson Jr. left and Berkey is, I don't know what he's doing, not in charge of scouting, hopefully, but so I think their whole plan was to play Eklund at center, and I know a few of us were like, this is not going to end well. But I have been pleasantly surprised, because I was a little scared going into it, having him at center. It's daunting, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, and we saw with a guy like Tomas Hertl, it took him a little while to get, into into game shape and into becoming a really, a long 200-foot kind of game player. So,
and Eklund's defensively has been really good this year for a 21-year-old. Like, defensively, he's not been horrible. Vlassic scored again. Sorry, this chat is killing me. But yeah.
So what happened to Hertl tonight? Because he didn't play.
He's injured.
Oh. Okay, was that from yesterday's game?
No, he missed last game. Also, I don't remember when Hertl's last game was. Someone in the chat might know, but Hertl has been out injured. Whenever Eklund started playing centers, when Hertl was out injured, so it actually might have been last game.
Yeah, I think it was starting last game. So
yeah,
that's so weird. I don't remember. I didn't remember seeing that.
This team cannot buy injury luck for the life of them. Like, whenever, like, I think Ian said it last night, whenever one person gets healthy, like 5 others get injured.
Yeah, and we're just going to talk about that. Yeah, exactly. Barabanov got injured, and, now it requires shuffling even more. And, we also talked about this a little bit off air, too. Like, I wonder if maybe it's time to look at augmenting the medical staff, like... I don't know. Like, you don't want to speak bad about anybody's work, and I think the Sharks staff does an excellent job. But like I was telling you, Jules, it's always nice to have some fresh perspective, some fresh ideas, to keep everything innovative and to make sure that you're on the cutting edge and that you're not missing anything by having similar. By having similar skill sets or having similar opinions, because by having that echo chamber, you really don't give yourself an option to have like second opinions on different medical options. I mean, just look at Jack Eichel, right? I mean, like how how he basically had to fly an exodus from his original team in order to get the medical treatment that he wanted because it was, a little bit on the newer side. And again, I just wonder if it's not a good idea to augment the staff, the medical staff.
We'll see what happens. I mean, again, they did bring in a new front office, and also I wouldn't be surprised. I'm hoping to see some changes over the summer. If it's the medical change, we'll see. But yeah. Also, AJ's comment: the break is for getting everyone healthy. February 14th with Hurdle, Couture, Granlund, and Sturm down the middle. The Sharks will end up finishing with the third pick. That falls to 5th. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with this year's draft. If that happens, the positive kick to that is this draft is stacked with defensemen.
Yeah, and this team
That's the only positive kick I can kick out of that. Sorry.
Yeah, I would say that this team, defensemen and centers, I think is what this team needs.
And here's the thing, if even with that center core, I don't know how much better the Sharks get. You know what I mean? Because they're I don't know. I'm not convinced the team's ever even gonna be fully healthy. But yeah,
I know.
We'll see what happens. Hopefully they are fully healthy because it would be nice to see a healthy Sharks team and for the CUDA to also get some help. Because if all of your centers are healthy, you can send Carpenter back down to help the CUDA and help the young guns and help Gushkin, who's also injured, by the way.
I know. But Jules, I wanted to ask you because it's going to get very Ducks centric and very heavy on the Ducks here in a minute. So let me ask you this before we leave the second period. Do you think Vlassic remains on this team post All-Star break, or do you think this little offensive outburst has bought him that long requested or long thought of trade for him?
No, I mean, guys, in all seriousness, he's gonna stay a Shark. That contract, unless I think I was joking about with Landi, if Greer's able to trade that contract, he earns GM of the year for me. But I don't think Vlasic is gonna get traded just because he's suddenly on a heater with Ruda. I don't see him getting traded. I think if anything, maybe in his last year of the Sharks contract, he might get traded over to Montreal. But other than that, I don't think he's getting traded.
Yeah. Well, that being said, we have to talk about this third period. And going into the third, the Sharks had the 2-1 lead, and Troy Terry would end up scoring just a heartbreaking goal at 18:59 with, a minute and 1 second remaining. The goaltender's pulled, and the Sharks just cannot hold the lead for the life of them. Like I said, I was thinking maybe this team had learned of some of its collapses previously. But you know what, Jules? The Sharks are going to Sharks.
This team just doesn't know defense.
Yeah.
This team, and here's the thing with this team, as long as the product's fun-ish, I don't really care if they lose anymore.
I'm just numb to it all.
I'm joking. I'm not numb to it. But as long as the product's fun and as long as I'm seeing the young guns improve and get better and we're starting to see some progress every year, I am not going to give two shits if they win or lose these next few games. For the rest of the year. And the lottery is the lottery. At the end of the day, I can be sitting here hoping and praying that we get the first overall pick if we end the worst, but we all know how Gary Bettman works. But yeah.
Yeah. Well,
that's all. I went on a tangent. I'm sorry. I'm derailing the show already.
No, you're good. Troy Terry would get his 15th of the year. Carlson and Henrique getting the assists, and the Ducks tied it up. And of course
they did.
Yeah, right. Of course they did. And going into the overtime period, Sharks played pretty decently, I think, in the overtime period. I won't say they played horribly, but No, besides the besides the ear, the what's the unforgivable or unredeemable
So
sin of giving it up right on the far side and allowing a 2-on-1 to go the other way. And
the
Dookie, what
minute
are you doing, my man? Come on.
the minute I saw that puck just being giveth away, I was like, "Ah, shit, we're gonna lose this game."
Well, I mean, you saw it. I mean, you saw it coming, right? I mean, as
Yeah.
Terry and Vatrano are just flying down, and you just
And I saw Vatrano just speeding, and no one could catch up to that guy. And I was like, "Well, this is gonna end well."
exactly. And then like right on cue, cross ice pass, back of the net. Duckies win it and take down the Sharks, and good for the Sharks for winning a couple games. But at the end of the day, look, like we have just continually preached, this team is not good. And I mean, I know.
Hey, wait, hold up, but Landy, they're 4-1-1 in their last game, in their last 6 games, 7 games, whatever is the math. I'm
Yeah,
too tired to do
and
math right now.
if you believe what they tell you on the broadcast, there's still hope for this season.
We can still make the playoffs though. I'm joking. Yo,
yeah,
this team is
we're
not
one
good.
real hot win streak away, or real, one whatever cliche bullshit answer you want to throw out here or there, but honestly, the team needs to
Sell at the deadline.
Exactly. Get more
Like
worse.
what AJ said in the chat.
Um,
No one cares. We only care about March 8th. Well, the thing is, who's getting traded also is going to be a fun topic of conversation here.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck has value right now? I mean, okay, I'm being dramatic, but I'm a theater kid.
Here, this is from AJ. Thank you, AJ. Jesus, I saw a lot. Quinn when asked to reflect on charge for 55 games.
Oh my god. Quinn has the best quotes.
He's got He's got some spicy zingers,
He's got some the ones yesterday where it's like we found a like an earth-shattering thing, which by the way, they did not follow that today. His earth-shattering thingy majig about getting pucks to the net.
Jesus.
I say bite the bullet and call up Bordeleau. No. Bordeleau's not ready to be called up.
No, Bordeleau doesn't deserve a call up.
That's a whole other issue, but we're not going to talk about that right now. But that's a whole other thing. Justin Bailey? No. Justin Bailey's an AHL player who's just playing out of his league right now. Sorry. I'm so sorry, Kevin Lacey. Like he can play fourth line NHL minutes, but I don't think he has any value.
No, I mean, look, if we're being completely honest here, I think Duclair is one of the guys you look at. I think you look at.
So there was a rumor out there, Barbie.
I mean, I could see them moving off of Barabanov.
I would rather. So who would you rather keep, Duke or Barbie? Because I feel like Greer's keeping one of those two. And yeah, like AJ said, Goosh is more likely to get a call up than Boards is. Boards is not struggling. He has some swagger, but that's another issue that I don't want to get into. But I say you're either keeping Barbie or Duke.
Yeah, I think I would. I think I would genuinely say that Barabanov is probably the one they want to keep.
That's my guess too. But because Barbie just has some of those skills where not every guy has it. Like his vision on the ice, his skill and vision on the ice is quite good. And I don't know. And Duke, I know there's a goal scorer in Duke. Like, don't get me wrong. We just haven't seen that Duclair, I think. We haven't seen the best of Duclair yet. Now, could he come back from the All-Star break and prove me wrong? Absolutely. But right now, I'd rather keep Barbie 100% over Duclair.
Yeah. But I mean, a guy like Jan Ruda, maybe a guy like Mikael Granlund. I mean,
I want them to keep Granlund at least until. I like Granlund a bit right now too much, I think. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, is at the end of the day, isn't Granlund just a guy?
I I know I don't know. It feels like the way not Quinn, Greer was talking about him during the press conference thing that he seems to be part of the future. Now, I don't know if I misread an article about that or anything,
Yeah,
but
but Greer is also saying like the team could be competitive in 2 years.
yes, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if Granlund's traded, it's going to be next year, not this year. If you know what I mean, because he has one more year for $5 million left on that contract, and the Sharks only have one retention spot.
Yeah. It was funny.
That's my only thing.
This whole chit chat about McDonald, because we were talking about ultimate Swiss Army knife utility player, Jacob McDonald, and
I'm calling it now. Jacob McDonald is going to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
And I mean, look, if we're gonna be all honest here, you're getting not only a defenseman, you're getting a winger as well. So you have to pay double the price of what you normally would pay.
Jacob McDonald is a Toronto Maple Leaf. I am calling it now. The Leafs would I guarantee the Leafs are calling the Sharks up about Jacob McDonald.
This is a man who can change positions mid-game, okay?
And has on several occasions. Just casually switched from defenseman to forward.
Now, whether or not he does that in the same shift is another question. You never know what, from shift to shift, which Jacob McDonald are you getting? Are you getting the forward or are you getting the defenseman? But in this case, the Ducks would end up scoring in the overtime on an ill-advised giveaway. And Frankie Vatrano getting his 22nd of the year, Terry getting his 22nd assist of the year. And that would be all she wrote. And
great. This game literally I wanted to go tuck into Ben and read a book. Fuck this game.
Yep.
But that's a lot of the Shark season right now. And the only thing there really is to do right now is look towards the future.
So let's do that. Jules.
Oh God.
So let's go off of this game, and again, Sharks lose 3-2 in overtime to the Anaheim Ducks, and now we got the break, so that's awesome. Just
thank God.
We don't have to talk about this team for a while.
The Barracuda hosting the All-Star game.
That is very, very true.
That is happening. Hopefully, Goosh and Mukamadulin will be there. We'll talk about it more tomorrow on Teal Tinted Glasses.
Yep. Check out Teal Tinted Glasses tomorrow. Of course.
I don't remember the time, not going to lie.
But, that's perfect segue into liking and subscribing the page, because if you subscribe and you hit the bell notification, you know when we go live, and you'll know when the shindig's going to happen tomorrow on Teal Tinted.
You will.
You really will. So, Jules, why don't you give us a sneak peek of what you guys are going to talk about tomorrow on Teal Tinted?
We're going to recap the last few Barracuda games, which actually they've been so injury prone, and I think they've actually won most. They've only lost one of their games. So we'll talk about that. This is not Barracuda. We'll also have a few other things to talk about. We'll talk about guys. I'm sure we'll mention Ethan Cardwell. So Michael Molasses, you have something to look forward to. But yeah, regarding prospects, Beestead has switched over to wing in the SHL and is finally putting up points again. So that's a very positive thing. And Quentin Musty is blowing up the OHL. He now has 60 points in 33 games. And Luca Cagnoni is a defenseman who has 59 points in 44 games. I would like everyone to process those numbers that I just yelled at you.
Yeah.
So help is coming.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We talked about the pipeline, and we talked about where do we think the team is at. And, Greer had said 2 to 3 years is when he thinks the team can be in contention. I don't necessarily believe that.
And I will say this, because AJ did throw this in the chat. The cap friendly does have everyone kind of expiring in that time frame. but it just depends if the kids are ready.
Yeah, and I think, to be quite honest, you're 1 to 2 years after you get that critical mass of prospects, then you kind of start having to add, via free agent and via trade. And we haven't seen I haven't seen enough of a track record of good free agent signings for me to be confident that the team will be able
Nico
to.
Sturm. I'm joking. Sorry, keep going.
Well, Nico Sturm, no, I mean, that's a good point. Nico is a good player, and I like that player, but he's of a different kind of caliber. And thank you so much for the super chat, Jerry. Jerry coming in. Thanks for the great show. I appreciate it, buddy. But I just wonder if there is enough of a book on Greer as far as free agent signings go to say he's the right man to put together a core and feel comfortable that he knows what he's doing. I still think I have questions about that.
No, and that's so valid. But honestly, from my point of view, I'm not expecting Greer to go out and sign any big name free agents until we see part of the core already in San Jose.
Yeah, and I think that's
And-
at least 2 to
yeah.
3 years.
And that's probably in like 20 whenever like half the hurdle, like not half the hurdle's still here, but whenever like half the forwards are like not here anymore, then I would expect a good comparison. It's like I would not be surprised if Sharks sign like guys like Frank Vatrano, like the Ducks did, to kind of accelerate the rebuild just a tad. The Ducks are not the best comparison because they are a few years ahead of the Sharks. But yeah, I think once like the majority of the core is in San Jose, we'll see what Greer does in free agency. I just don't want to judge Greer's free agent class right now because it's in the middle of a rebuild and this team is just garbage in general.
Yeah, and I think you bring up such a great point. It's that it's so hard to determine, how what the health of the front office is when you're mired in you had such a mess that you were left with. You inherited such a mess. And look, I mean, God bless Doug Wilson, and I'm glad he's doing okay, but he really left
a fucking disaster.
It was you are so incredibly correct, Jules. I mean, he pivoted way too late into wanting to keep his draft picks and wanting to develop players to help build and backfill the Joe Thornton era and trying to pivot away from that. And it looked like maybe he was going to be able to kind of juggle both this compete and to continually stock, with the Pavelski captaincy and just how much longer they were able to squeeze the juice out of that lemon before it just, ultimately, fell apart because of contractual obligations. And, well, we all know the story. So again, we talk about this ebbs and flows throughout a franchise's history. Yep. We're in the ebb, and we'll get to the flow, but it's I still think 2 years is optimistic. I think 3 years, I think, is when you'll maybe start to see the sproutlings start to come up. But don't kid yourself. I don't think a Stanley Cup's coming for at least 5 years with this team. At least 5 years. Competing for a Stanley Cup, excuse me.
Like, and here's the thing with like hockey development compared to like football development. With football, you kind of, some guys come in and you kind of, it's just immediate and it's less of a development league in the NFL. But, and like the NHL, right? It's very much so like, it's not a development league, but they juice their guys. Like, look how long it's taken Eklund to finally come out in the NHL.
Yeah.
2-ish, 3-ish years. I expect Smith will probably take around 2 years. I expect Musty might take 3 years. So it's going to take time for this young core to come together. And mind you, they're still adding to this young core.
Yeah, because I think honestly, like AJ saying 5 years, I'd be happy to make the playoffs in 5 years, bro. But I mean,
I just want us to be in the convo for the playoffs in like 4 years. The conversation.
but
Like I
that's
want us
but
to
that's
try
what
to
I'm saying.
wire.
Like, I don't think
Yeah,
that they're going to be ultimate contenders. I mean, like 5 years, I think is when the window will finally start to reopen.
absolutely.
But again, I'm not kidding myself. I don't think they're going to go off and win a Stanley Cup in year 5. I don't think so. This is
No. And if they do, it's a godforsaken miracle.
I think
Like,
honestly it's a success for the franchise if you can win a cup within 10 years. Right? I mean,
yes. Yeah.
I think that would be the barometer of which I see the success failure just because of how long. I mean, when that Erik Karlsson extension and trade and all of that happened, I mean, we all looked at ourselves and said, "This is really cool. We got this player, but man, I am worried about this check that's going to come due and how long, we're going to take paying off, the accrued debt on this
Of just
trade."
like having a lack of a prospect pool. I will say this. Greer has done a pretty good job building back up this prospect pool. Like, if you look at the rankings currently for this prospect pool, it's around the 13th through 10s, pretty much like consistently. Some of them have them higher. Some other podcasts have them higher and stuff, but it's pretty consistently. And then after this year's draft, I think it's also going to jump. So I will give Greer credit. He has done a pretty good job starting to rebuild the prospect pool. It's in no way clearly done. But he's done a good job, and I've liked his drafting for the most part.
So, like, I mean, honestly, like, if we think about this year, we're going to crater out probably. We're going to either pick number 1 or number 2 overall, right? And
hopefully, well, according to AJ, we're picking 5th.
realistically, I think we're picking 1 or 2. And I think we still have another year of having better odds of having first overall than of making a sustained playoff run. So I would say at the end of 2 years, when Greer thinks the team can be in contention, I think you're just starting to see what's going to percolate from your drafting. Yeah. I think that's honestly where we're gonna be.
Probably. I mean, right now you can just look at kind of what they have this year and kind of speculate where these kids, because mind you, we're judging 18, 21-year-old kids. There's
and
no
AJ puts it great. I mean,
yeah.
Greer has gotten picks and built the pool. Let's see if it pays off by the end of the decade. That's kind of the way you have to think about it.
No, yeah.
All right, Jules.
Also, they're like 21-year-old, 19-year-old kids people are judging. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you never know.
Landy, we're picking 1 or 2. AJ, put money on it. Bet me.
Oh, God.
No, dude, I know better than to put my money on a volatile asset.
We all know Celbrini's ending up in Chicago.
I mean, look, tonight I got my hopes up just a little bit, and look at how much they dashed it. So I know better than that.
Worst scenario, the Sharks are picking 5th overall, and I'm going to have a giant fucking headache trying to make that into a positive.
This is like Lucy and fucking Charlie Brown kicking the football. Like, literally, like, that is the Sharks. The Sharks are the football. Lucy is the fucking NHL, the league. And she just loves to taunt us. We're going to hit that ball. We're going to make that field goal. No.
AJ, I would gladly take the bet with you that the Sharks are getting the first overall, because they typically do the opposite of what I bet. So, Jesus Christ.
A little reverse psychology. Well,
absolutely.
Jules,
hopefully it works.
Let's end this up here because we're getting into minute 40, and I can't believe we're in.
How did we manage to find shit to talk about? Okay.
I don't know how we do it. I really don't. So anyhow, in case you missed it and you want to check us out again, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification button So you know when we go live. But of course, if you're a long time, you know that we go live after every single Sharks game. But we have some of those cool shows like Teal Tinted that get sprinkled in there like pepper for the salt for the salad. Anyhow, you can check out all of our podcasts across your podcatcher of choice. That being on the Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, the YouTube Rewind, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, Odyssey app, and of course, always on tealtownusa.com. And Jules, it was really awesome to hang out with you and talk some Sharkies before
same here.
the break. And I'm looking forward to having this nice little break here. And not having to worry about the Sharks, watching some Super Bowl and my Niners.
Go Niners.
Go Niners, exactly. But that being said, what are your final thoughts on where the people can find you?
Yeah, my final thoughts is the Sharks are bad, and we're getting the 5th over. No, I'm kidding. No, final thoughts. I mean, listen, the Sharks lost in the most Sharks way possible, and help is coming. The prospects are a brewing. It just might take some time, so be patient. And you can find me at Sharks_Jules, and I'll be back tomorrow with Ian to cover all things Barracuda. And it's not even better than how the Sharks are doing. So. And we will mention Ethan Cardwell.
Oh yes, that's the name that will not be mentioned. But as far as where you can find me, you can use my first name. That's ERIK, last name LANDI, and plug that into all the social media garbage. You'll find me. And as far as final thoughts go, well, let's enjoy the break, get healthy, see where we come out on the other side of this thing. Get ready for a trade deadline, and let's see if we can't just continue building the fundamentals and really, working on protecting leads, working on keeping the games low. I love the fact that the Sharks only allowed 3 goals, and again, if they can keep
low compared to 10.
Oh yeah, exactly. So that's a positive in itself, and. Yeah, just don't have high expectations.
That is the smart way to go.
Yeah. But for everybody here, we bid you adieu, a good evening. And we love to tell y'all to keep it real, Teal. Keep it Teal. Keep it real and keep it real, Teal. I'll get that right. It's a long season, folks, and I'm about ready for this break. So we'll catch you we'll catch you tomorrow on Teal Tinted Glasses on Teal Town USA, and of course check it out on tealtownusa.com. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow evening.